I'm delighted to be here with you today. It's Mensah Oteh, and I want to share with you a number of principles to creating wealth. But I want to share that using a story. It's a remarkable story, but one that I really like, and is one that resonates very, very much with who I am. And I believe this applies to every area of our life, and not just in the area of money or wealth. Now, understand something, that what I'm sharing with you here, in principle, philosophies about living well, and principles or strategies on how to achieve what you want. And because I'm dealing with principles and strategies, they can be applied to any area of life with subtle adjustments as needed. Now, if you want to become more successful in the area of finances or financial wealth, creation, multiplication, perhaps protection, you have to understand certain rules, laws of money and wealth. I want to talk about a story. You've probably heard of this before, or maybe you haven't. It's called the talents. It's called the parable of the talents. It's a remarkable ancient story that says that a master was about to go away. And just before he went away, he was traveling on a long journey. But just before he went away, he called 3 servants together and he said, listen, I'm going away for a while, for a period of time. I want to give you, and I'm going to entrust to each and every one of you some of my resources. I want you to put those resources to good use. When I come back from my journey, we can all get together and we can go through what you've done with each of the resources I gave you. And just as he promised, he went away. But before he went away, he did something. There were 3 servants. To the first servant, he gave 5 talents. To the second servant, he gave 2 talents. And to the final servant, he gave 1 talent. Now, this is called the parable of the talents. Now, you might be thinking, what an ancient story you're using, but let me make it more relevant in today's terms so you can perhaps understand and appreciate the significance of what we're talking about. A talent is simply gold. A talent represented a weight of gold. In other words, a talent, 1 talent, is equivalent to 50 kilograms of gold. Now, 50 kilograms of gold is a lot. Now, to understand how much that means in today's currency, 1 kilogram of gold today is equivalent to approximately 30,000 pounds. So 50 kilograms of gold is 1.5 million pounds. So can you see it's a significant amount of money? So to the first servant, he gave 7.5 million pounds equivalent in gold. To the second, he gave 3 million equivalent in gold. And to the final, he gave 1.5 million equivalent in gold. Now that is a lot of money. It's a lot of responsibility as well. Now the account of the story was quite interesting. The account says that when the master returned, he gathered the 3 servants together and he said, what did you do with the talents that I gave you, with the resources I gave you? Give account. Now that's a powerful word, account. Give account. You see, one of the reasons why we suffer in various areas of our life is because we are not willing to be accountable. We're not willing to give account of what's been given to us. So he said to the first servant, I gave you 5. What did you do? The servant says, Master, I'm very honored to have you back, and I took what you gave me and I put it to use. I invested it. Here is the word. He invested the 5 talents, and he multiplied these 5 talents and he became 10. So he doubled the value The master was excited. The master said, well done, exceptional work, great stuff. The master goes to the second servant and says, what did you do? Give account of what you did. The servant says, master, just like the first servant, I went to work and I invested. Again, the word was invest. And I'm lucky and I'm happy to present 4 talents, your original 2 plus an extra 2. So he multiplied what he had. He increased the value. So he had 4 talents. The master said, exceptional. Now, to the third servant, the master said, give accounts. What did you do? The third servant said, listen, I took what you gave me and I buried it. In other words, he saved. And these 2 words are opposite to each other. He saved what was given to him. So he said to the master, I took what you gave me. I didn't want to lose it. I knew it was just 1 talent. So I wrapped it all up and I found somewhere safe and I dug a hole and I hid it. And he said, I knew you were going to call for me today. So here it is, unwrapped in the same wrapping paper that I used, or cloth, whatever they may have used at that time. He said, here is your original talent, 1 talent. The master was very upset. The master said, you stole from me. Now, he didn't use that word stole, but he simply said, take away the talent from this particular third servant and give it to number 1. He says, you've been a wicked servant. You've been a wicked servant. Now, why did he use such words? You see, if you save, you lose money. Now, I want to share 10 principles. If I can, I might try and cover 10 of them. I may not, but I want to share some principles from this story because I think it's so powerful. But I want you to think about how you can apply this to any area of your life, not just about wealth, but it's the principle, because we've all been given something in life. Now, the first principle I want to say to you is this. Life gives all of us something. Now, that could be perhaps for you, it could be a talent in perhaps playing a musical instrument. It could be perhaps a talent or a gift in understanding people. It could be a talent in, being a medical profession or doctor, a surgeon. It could be a gift, but every one of us gets a gift. And it's not just one gift, we get a few more. But life has given each and every one of us something. Now, we receive, but the gift is given with expectation. Expectation meaning you're going to multiply what has been given to you. You're going to grow. You see, one of the greatest laws of life is growth. You must grow. Life expects you to multiply what has been given to you. So the first thing I want to say to you is this. Wealth is created as a result of multiplication of what you have. You must take what has been given to you and multiply it. Nothing is too small. Now, many people say, I don't have enough. I don't have enough. I've not saved enough. This comes to lesson number 2. If you save, you lose. Now, you might be thinking about this in terms of money, but let me use another example. What about love? Are you giving as much love as you should? Some people are saying, well, I'm waiting for the ideal partner to come into my life. I'm waiting for the right time. I'm waiting to have a good relationship. I'm waiting for the ideal person. In this relationship I'm in, it's not my ideal relationship. So what they're doing is they're saving their love. And they don't understand the principles and the laws of the universe, some of which say if you give, then you receive. You have to give what you have in order to receive it. So they're saving all their love. Some people are saving hard work. Some people say, I don't like the job I'm working in. I'm not fulfilled. I don't feel significance. I don't feel as though it's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. So I don't do as well as I should. I'm saving my best for that job I'm going to get in the future. They're saving. And every day life looks down and says, you have to give what was being given to you. Multiply, grow. Meaning, if you're in a relationship you're not happy, give your best, because by giving your best, that sets you up for the platform of that relationship that you deserve. If you're in a job where you're not happy, give your best. In other words, you're preparing yourself for that future when you can excel in the right place. If you've been given, perhaps an income and you have so little, invest it, multiply it, grow it, because that's the way you create wealth. Wealth is created based on what you have, not what you're expecting to get. Principle number 3. Life always gives you in proportion to who you are. The 3 servants did not get the same talents. They received talents according to what we call your ability, meaning all of us are different. 7 billion people in the world today, none of us is like you. Now think about that. 7 billion people, not one of us is like you, would never be. We've had 107 billion people who have lived. None of us, or none of them, were like you. And long after I'm gone and you're gone, the life and the world will continue, but none of the people yet to come will be like you, meaning you're significant. You have a purpose, a perfect purpose, unique to only you. And this purpose has an ability. You've been given this ability to fulfill that purpose. So life will only give you according to your ability. 1 servant got 5, 1 got 2, 1 got 1. Why? They had different abilities. However, number 4, although life gives you according to your ability, life gives you the same opportunity to reach your highest potential, because potentiality is infinite and it applies to everyone. What does this mean, and how does this have anything to do with wealth? Most people focus on how much I earn. Someone says, I only earn £20,000 and that's the reason why I'm not wealthy. That's quite sad. Some other person says I earn £2,000 per month or £24,000 per year net, and that's why I'm not wealthy. That's sad and that's silly. You can still become wealthy on £2,000 per month, and now you might be thinking that's not possible. How? Well, £2,000 per month, if you save 10% every month, that's £200. £200 over 12 months is £2,400 per month. If you invest £200 in an investment stream that pays 10% return compounded every year, in 49, 50 years exactly, you will have 1.28 million. And if you were to take this 1.28 million, put in an investment that pays 10% every year, you will get £128,000 per year. Every month, you will get about £10,040 per month. All because you started by setting aside a portion of what you have. So what I'm trying to say here is that life will give you the same opportunity. Now the master said to the servants, go away, take what I've given you, put it to the best use that you can. He didn't say, you have more favor, you have less, you have more. He said, do the best you can. Now, the 5th thing I want to mention is this. Because life expects a return from you, life will judge you based on what is given to you, not based on what is given to another. Meaning, you have to start seeing wealth, whatever area of your life, as you. Yes, we have the Forbes 2017 list that came out a number of months ago, where we have 2,000 billionaires and they're compared against their net worth, one to another. They're simply ranked based on the total net worth. Life doesn't do that with you. Life compares you against the potential you have within you. So the question I want to ask you is, if you were to stand back and ask yourself a simple question, what have I achieved so far in my life? And is that the best that I could do? The best way to do this in terms of monetary value is simply to ask yourself, what is my net worth? And once you have your net worth established, why don't you compare your net worth against what we call your expected net worth? Now, how do you do that? Your expected net worth is simply take your age, multiply your age by your annual household income and divide by 10. That will give you an amount. If your expected net worth is far, or rather exceeds, your actual net worth, then it means you're falling short of what you could potentially do. Interestingly, no one knows you better than you know yourself. So the question is, are you achieving your potential? Are you pushing towards your potential? To create wealth, it's not about how much you earn, it's about how much you take the resource, how well you take the resources and put it to good use to push you towards your potential. Now, number 6 is this. Whatever you cannot manage, life takes away from you. The servant with 1 talent had his talent, it was just 1. He had his talent taken from him and given to the person with the first commission, the one who had 10 talents. Now, logically, you might think about that and say, that's very unfair. You might say, well, he had 1 talent only, and the first servant had 10. He had only 1. Why take from 1 and give to the person with 10? It comes down to this simple word: management. Whatever you cannot manage, you lose. Whatever you do not manage well, you will lose. Life takes away from you what you cannot manage and always gives it to the person with the ability to manage. Now, let me make this more practical. A lot of people say the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. Why? It comes down to one simple reason. I've been poor. I was raised poor in terms of financial poverty, material poverty, but we were wealthy spiritually. We had the right attitude, we had the right philosophy about life, we had the right principles, we had gratitude in our heart. So we lived in a spiritual state of abundance. We had love, we had other areas of life spiritually that enabled us to live well. That set the right foundation for who I am today. But materially, we didn't understand the rules, the principles and the laws of money. So we couldn't create, multiply, or pass that money on to the generations that came from my family. The point I'm making is this: I've been poor. So in this statement I'm about to make, I believe I'm qualified to make this statement. You know, I come from very humble beginnings. There were days when, growing up, if you had 2 meals in a day, it was considered a great day. The point I want to make is this: the poor get poorer simply because of the laws of the universe that are set up. Those laws are precise, those laws are predictable, and those laws will guarantee what they promised. And one of the laws is the law of cause and effect, or the law of sowing and reaping. The poor get poorer simply because they cannot manage what has been given to them. And life is always looking for ways to grow and increase. You know, poverty is, in a way, is unnecessary. Poverty is nothing that anyone should experience, but we do by choice and by decision. Nature and life is always about growth and becoming the best. So whenever nature or the universe sees an area whereby there is no growth, it has to do what it does best. It has to redirect the resources to someone else. Now, the wealthy get richer because they have management, and they're able to manage because they have wisdom. Wisdom in itself is free. They make the right decisions. They have the right habits. They study wealth. All of these allow them to become good managers. And the more they manage their resources well, they set up what we call the law of attraction. The law of attraction simply says that you will attract what you have in thoughts, in feeling, and in action, meaning your attitude. Now, the wealthy have a positive attitude, and so they attract positive. The poor have the opposite. Now, that's a long way of explaining a principle from the talents, meaning anything that you do not manage, you will lose. So, let me make this practical in other areas of life. If I look back in my life, at various areas of my life, there were certain things that I had that I lost. It could have been a relationship that was a great relationship, maybe with a client, maybe intimacy. I look back a number of years now, perhaps a relationship with some friends that I lost. Why? I didn't manage it well. I took a lot of things for granted. You know, Tony Robbins says, if you treat people the way you treated them on day one at the start of the relationship, then you will never have the relationship come to an end. And that's so true, so profound, so powerful. What does that mean? Management. It means use wisdom, do the right things, make the right decisions. And I found relationally in business, I lost some customers, some clients, because I didn't treat them the same way that I did at the start. I didn't manage the relationship well. Intimacy-wise, I lost a lot of friends. In terms of just mutual friends, I lost a lot of friends. Now put that aside. Health-wise, there's certain parts of you might relate to certain parts of your journey whereby you might look at your fitness level and you say, well, wow, I used to be that good. Guess what? Back then, you managed what was given to you. You managed your time well. You managed your nutrition well. You managed your sleep well. You trained hard. It's all management. You move away, you move into another area of life. You talk about happiness, joy. It's all management. So in every area of life, whatever you fail to manage, you will lose. Life will take it from you. And until you develop the skills to be an effective manager, it's never given back to you. This is what the principle says. If you're faithful with little things, then you will be given much. Now, I'm sorry about that long explanation, but I think it's so powerful if you understand it. Now, let's talk about one final, maybe 2 or 3 final points. I shouldn't have said one. I think I'm down to number 7 or number 8. I can't really remember. And here it is. The master gave the servants the talents. The servants had to do something to multiply those talents. I'm talking about the principle of work. Your life, wealth doesn't increase by hope. Wealth doesn't increase by faith alone. Wealth doesn't increase by luck. Wealth doesn't increase by wishing. Now I'm talking about wealth. But I can take away wealth and say success. I can talk about happiness. I can talk about health. I can talk about prosperity. I can talk about any area of life. It doesn't get it by hope. It doesn't get it by chance. It doesn't get it by faith, luck, or wish. It gets better by choice. And that choice is the choice to work. Meaning, what you do daily decides what you become permanently. If you're in a relationship, you got to work in the relationship every day. You can't just expect it to multiply. You can't hope in your mind. You see, hope, unfortunately, is something that we don't understand in today's language. We think about hope as this optimism. No. If you go back to the ancient times, hope meant that you had a vision. You had a time set for achieving that vision. You had a plan to achieve that vision in the time. You had a strategy, and every day you were taking action. That was what hope referred to. Faith, we get a misunderstanding about what faith is. Faith without works, they say, is dead. Meaning, the highest expression of your faith is work, meaning you take action. Faith is, I believe something and I expect it. I can't see it, but I can see it in my mind and I act on it. So, for example, you have faith in a business transaction coming to fruition. What do? You start learning, developing, acquiring the knowledge, making the right moves, making contacts with people to make it a reality. Faith, you meet someone you just started dating, but you have faith that they will be sincere. You have faith that they will be honest. You don't wait for them to demonstrate that honesty. You simply say, I'm going to have faith in you, so I'm going to start treating you like you should be treated had you achieved that role. Another way you think about this, you have a child, and I found this to be profound. If you treat people the way you expect them to be, they rise to that level. Say that again. You have two people. If you treat people at that level, they stay at that level. If you treat people at a bigger level, they grow into that giant of greatness that you see them to be. That is faith. Luck doesn't have anything to do with success or wealth. Wishing has nothing to do with success or wealth. Chance has nothing to do with success or wealth. You've got to eliminate that. Now, the eighth thing I'm going to talk about in this principle is this. Attitude. Attitude deals with your thoughts, how you think, your feelings, how you feel, your actions, what you do. And the three servants did something quite interesting. The first servant listened to the master. He knew something would be expected of him. He started thinking about thoughts to create multiplication and increase. He had the feelings in him, knowing, okay, well, this is what I'd like to see. I would want a situation whereby when the master returns, I can look him in the eye and say, I did a great job. So that feeling he had led him into taking action. He took a step. In other words, he was willing to take a risk. In other words, if you want to be wealthy, if you want to be successful, if you want anything in life, you've got to have a goal that you're willing to fail for. I say that again. You must have a goal that you're willing to fail for. If you're not willing to fail, unfortunately, you don't deserve the promise. Now, the final thing I'm going to talk about in number 9 is this. Whatever you do, you will be rewarded according to your activity. The master rewarded the first 2 servants, but he also rewarded the third servant. But the rewards were different. One received punishment. The others received admiration. They received a pat on the back, and I'm sure they received a few other, perhaps, remunerations or whatever that might mean. That simply means that in life, you will always receive based on what you do. So it's about the value you create. A lot of people are thinking about creating wealth in terms of what can I get? It's the opposite. You should be asking the question, what can I do? How can I serve? How can I make a difference in someone's life? What problems are around me that I can solve? Because the quality of your life is always dependent on the quality of problems you solve for other people. Now, I hope that's been useful. And I hope this parable is something that perhaps ignites a desire for you to be more, have more, and do more in your life. I wish you the best.